What's up, Summoners? King Blair here. With the GG collab banner still having 1 week, I wanted to do a showcase on Baiken in her prime location, which is actually going to be Banshee one-shot, particularly a Banshee 3-man team. I will be showing gear for all the units that I use, as well as talking about the units after I show their runs, and I'm going to be showing successful runs as well as not successful runs, so y'all can see that it's not 100%, right? So if you like the video, make sure you like, subscribe, and join the Discord server. Link down in the description. But without further ado, let's get right into it with the Banshee 3-man. So I do use Vivian, Karen, and Baiken, and I can put fodder in here. It's one of the reasons why a lot of people actually do like farming Banshee, is because, for example, as long as the unit that I put in here is not faster than my Baiken, I will be successful in the run, and I'll be able to essentially farm a unit up quite fast, right? So any ungeared unit will be able to go in the slot, and I can farm for experience as well as farm the actual hunt, get gold, get experience. You get a lot of stuff, right? Which is one of the reasons why people actually do like the Banshee 1-man a lot. But essentially, here, the main person is going to be the Baiken that's one-shotting, but the MVP is honestly the Vivian, because she's the one that actually clears the wave. And this team was a nightmare to speed tune. You do have to speed tune the team, because if you have it so your Vivian doesn't outspeed here, you lose the fight. But if you have your Vivian too fast, then you have it so you can't finish the Banshee, right? The Karen is not necessary there. I just use her because I also use that same Karen for Wyvern. So this one will be an unsuccessful one because we actually did get a dual attack. Even though he'll get the heal there, it's going to be too much damage from the Karen, right? I have it set up perfectly for the Karen to put the Banshee right before. So the fact that we dual attack there is, it's actually fine. So it'll still be successful. So you'll still see there the whole team set up, and now the Baiken sets up the S3. GG, right? So the fodder is nice because it makes it so in case you do get that dual attack, you do heal. As you see there, we didn't really need the bleeds. Our Baiken is more than enough. This team does more than enough damage to do it. So pretty basic. We are going to let it run a little bit more, and I'll keep talking about the team so you guys can see the Banshee one-shot galore, right? Especially the ones that fail. That it does happen occasionally. It does have an 85% chance at best, right? Because the reason why I say about 85% chance is because, as you guys know, 15% is a thing in this game. So if the Karen does not land the decreased defense, you pretty much lose, right? So that's the one that actually will kill the run. Everything else is pretty consistent. The dual attacks, as you guys saw, there is a chance that if we do dual attack, it also can fail. So that's why it's a little bit higher. But for the most part, since the Banshee does hit Karen a lot, since there's only 3 units, it's a very low chance for that to happen. So here's another successful one. And you guys see that these are like 1 to 2 minute runs, right? This Karen, as I mentioned, can be switched off for any other unit. It can be switched off for something like a Leo, which is one that a lot of people use and already have built. But again, as I mentioned, I like the Karen because she also does have the bleed artifact that's also from GG Collab to add a little bit of consistency. As you guys saw, there's times where FRS sometimes doesn't land, and I wouldn't be able to land the bleeds, and I'm not going to be able to kill if it's just Baiken, right? So it adds a little bit extra layer of protection in case the bleeds don't go out. But as you guys saw, it's pretty fast, right? And you get a ton of XP, right? I could probably let's put a 5-star, a blank 5-star hero here, so you guys can see how much experience you actually get from this, which is actually ridiculous. How much experience you can actually get from this. So let's put my fighter Maya. For example, this unit does not have gear on her right now. So I can actually put her in here, and I can actually farm the Banshee. So let's do it one more time. I'm just trying to see if I can find one that is unsuccessful, and then I'll show the gear right afterwards. But it's pretty nice. So essentially, core unit I would say that you need to have for a 3-man is actually the Vivian. I don't think there's a team that can do it without Vivian, because Vivian's the one that sets up the attack buff for your team, as well as, and it's for 3 turns, right? And you do need it for as long as possible for Baiken. The other thing about Vivian is she's also the one that can also clear that first wave quite easily with her EE that gives her the extra combat readiness. And then of course the Karen is just there for the decreased defense, as well as for some little bit of extra damage to help out the Baiken build, so the Baiken does not need insane gear, right? The gear that the Baiken needs is honestly, you guys will see it, it's not crazy, and it's more than enough. It's honestly overkill. As you guys saw there, the Karen was able to land a bleed there. And Baiken only landed 1. So you'll see that even if we don't kill directly here, because of the extra Karen bleed, we're guaranteed to kill, right? So boop. Right, so just consistency stuff. But all right, one last run, just for good measure. And you guys saw Fighter Maya is getting. Look at all this XP that she's getting. Right, you can farm heroes XP here like it's nothing. Right, and if you ever wanted to friendship farm and wanted to farm Banshee, you could also just take off the gear from the hero that you want to friendship farm, throw them in there, and just let it run. Right. The reason why I say take off the gear is because if you have them with gear, they could potentially attack and do more damage than to the Banshee and potentially mess up the run if you have it properly speed tuned and you have everything properly damaged and put it. Like, that's perfect damage, right? It barely is enough to kill that wave. And I didn't want it to do more, so the Karen wouldn't do too much damage. It took quite a long time to speed tune this. As you see here, here's the scenario where we do a lot of damage, and having a unit go in between these units and do a little bit of extra damage would push the Banshee below the threshold that she needs to be, right? It's right there if you can see it. So yeah, it's been pretty successful, but you can see the only place this can fail is if Karen misses the decreased defense, which is a 15% chance since we do have the effectiveness for the unit. But I think you guys got that idea. I kind of showed it several times. You guys didn't get to see an unsuccessful run, but usually with dual attacks, it does become unsuccessful. We just got lucky that she hit the Karen and was able to heal off the Karen. And we also got lucky that we had the extra mob there, so it's almost like a very high chance that it would hit. But as far as the actual build for the heroes, so you guys get an idea on the Baiken and everything else. So going off of the build, if I go here, first, the highlight of this team is actually going to be the Vivian. I have to give a credit where credit is due. I could easily Molagora this for more damage and lower the gear requirements a little bit. You do see I do have her imprinted, but it's very achievable. I just try to get as many stats as possible. Biggest thing is you need at least 85% crit rate. That's the big one, and she needs enough damage to clear the first wave. All the other stats don't matter as much except for the speed. You need to make sure that the speed is fast enough that it will lap your Karen and your Baiken, but not too fast that you'll also lap them without doing S3, right? So in that phase where you saw the Baiken do the S1 at the start of the Banshee, she does get some CR push from that. If your Vivian is too fast, it will outlap and do too much damage, right? That's in those scenarios. If you have a fast Vivian like that, if you want to double her build for also PvP, I recommend using a Leo because Leo does not do as much damage as Karen, right? So you can actually trade off the Karen in that situation, and that way, even if your Vivian is dummy fast, you can still have your Leo set up the decreased defense and the target debuff without needing to worry about doing too much damage with your Vivian, and that way you can have a mixed Vivian that can also be used for PvP, right? So in those scenarios, Leo is a better option than Karen, but I use my Karen for Wyvern, and I like to use my units as much as possible, and I don't like to build units that I don't need to build, which is why I didn't build Leo. But on that note, let's also look at let me look at the individual gear so y'all can see it as well. That it's not beyond unbelievably hard to get. This one is just the Labby sword, which rolled pretty good. This one is the free-to-play piece. Again, there's a lot of wasted stats in a lot of these. You guys see the F-res being wasted. This one isn't even reforged, has some nice attack. This one, again, pretty nice, but nothing like game-breaking, right? And then, of course, this one having a lot of critical hit damage, but not as much attack, right? So it's definitely doable stats for the Vivian to be able to clear that wave by herself. Again, Leo helps in that aspect to be able to do the 3-man. Now, as far as the debuffer, that is going to be my Karen. My Karen, again, as I mentioned, is also the same one I use for Wyvern. She has a little bit more effectiveness than I need her to have. She only needs 65% effectiveness, so this is actually a wasted stat. You may see that she doesn't have a maxed artifact and she doesn't have her chest maxed. The reason for this is because I don't want her doing too much damage to the Banshee, right? Because if she does too much damage to the Banshee, she pushes the Banshee to a point where Baiken will not be able to come in and finish the job, right? Because the Banshee will split. So this damage is exact to speed tune and damage tune to what I currently have for the worst case scenario, assuming the Banshee doesn't hit my Karen to heal. This will make it so it never goes over that threshold. And it took a lot of tuning to be able to get to this point. Very good critical hit damage. The speed is there, again, as we mentioned, faster than Baiken, within over the 5% threshold that you need to have for speed RNG. But again, slow enough that Vivian can lap her on that first round. And then, of course, as far as the gear, again, nothing crazy, very doable gear. I mean, all of this is free gear. You could easily make her stronger, but then you have to be careful. As I mentioned, it's perfectly just enough damage to do what she needs to do. And of course, this artifact, that's also one of them for added benefit. It's mostly for Wyvern, since it does allow my Karen to apply bleeds to the Wyvern, since I don't run a Banshee one-shot Wyvern one-shot team. But it also applies bleeds that Baiken can pop, giving more damage consistency to my Baiken. And then ultimately, we have the Baiken, who again is the one that actually makes this 3-man possible. 4-man is considerably easier. You don't need all of this. I don't have a rage set. Our rage set would be significantly better for this and will lower the stat requirements. Again, we're over effectiveness on here, but the reason why is because we actually do pair her. This is the same set that I use on my Sigrid for Wyvern, right? And again, this one is just is not maxed out because I am worried that it will roll onto speed in one of the rolls and then we will be too fast, right? So that's one of the reasons why I didn't max out the chest, is because I didn't want to potentially get extra speed and mess up the speed tuning. You see the Baiken is just barely enough speed to not speed RNG my Karen, so my Karen will always go first. She has over 85% crit rate, which is what you need. And then of course the attack and critical hit damage. It's very high, but it's not what you necessarily need. If you have a rage set, it's a lot lower. As you guys saw with the bleeds, since I do have effectiveness on her and on my Karen, that applying bleeds, you do not need to have as much damage if you're relying more on the bleeds. It'll just be a little bit more inconsistent. This just makes it so I can rely as little as possible on the bleeds to be able to have a successful Banshee run, right? So again, very, very speed tuned to Banshee. Very, very easy. Definitely something you can achieve. But that is all for my Banshee 3-man. Hopefully y'all enjoyed and are able to build it. Again, this is something, it's just you have a Baiken. I would not pull for Baiken just for the purpose of running Banshee. Although it does make it nice to be able to run a 3-man, right? But a 4-man is just as good. And you can use things like Euphine or Valen and a lot of different units that can help you do that a lot easier. But Baiken, probably one of the only ones you can really do a Banshee 3-man with. So that is all I have for you guys today. And I will see y'all next time. Peace.